Hey guys, you're watching Jermaine Morgan TV. It's me, Jermaine Morgan here, and I wanted to this week cover the guitar portion of the lesson. If you guys watched the lesson from last week, episode 1 of season 3, you know we covered the bass and kind of talked about the relationship between the bass and the guitar, and we were talking about the congregational type songs in church. If you grew up playing in church, or if you had any experience playing in church, you may have had some of these songs, especially in a black church, that is. But what I wanted to do today, because I am a guitar player as well, I wanted to talk about the guitar approach, how we could take the guitar and fill up the song a little bit more if we only have a three-piece band, how we could take that guitar and do some more rhythmic stuff on it. Not necessarily playing licks and that type of thing, but just doing a little bit more color and stuff and not being stuck in a box to see what we can do to add color to the song. Now, one thing I didn't mention on last week that I didn't really get to go into, now, if you are playing for a church and you only have bass, guitar, and drums, it might be a good idea to invest into some type of software where you can run loops. Matter of fact, a friend of mine, C-Dub, has loops. If you don't know anything about making loops, he has an app where you can download Loops by C-Dub. I will put the link below, but he has an app where you can basically play the loops from your phone to almost any song that's out there now in gospel music. He's already done the work for you, created the loops, and I think they're like 99 cents or something like that. But it's a great resource, and I'm not just saying that because he's a friend of mine, but I think that's a great resource for musicians, especially for guys who are on a smaller budget, or churches who are on a smaller budget, and you trying to fill up that sound. You don't have a keyboard player, and it might just be you as a bass player or you as a guitar player and a drummer. It does add to your sound to have that click track there where you can keep it going, and you hear it in the backing track that we have here. And might I add, before I forget, this backing track is available for download on JermaineMorgan.net. So just look up this backing track. I will put the link below, as the one was below on last week. So what we'll do, we'll jump into this lesson, and I'll see if we can give you guys a few tips. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play through it and let you guys get familiar with the progression and just see what we can add to it. So sitting in with me on drums today, I got my dude, Mr. JJ. If you've seen the video last week, he was here sitting in on drums. He also plays the keys, so you'll be seeing him from time to time. So we're going to play through a little bit of this groove. Again, for any of you who are familiar with congregational songs, this song is Burden Down. I don't know if that's the name of the song. Is that the name of the song?
I don't think so.
Since I laid my burdens down, I think that's the actual name of the song.
Glory, hallelujah.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. One of them. All I know is they just start singing the song, and you better know how to play from where we came from. So yeah, we're gonna play through a little bit of this, and I'm gonna show you guys the progression, and we're gonna dive into what we can do to kind of add some color to it. As you can hear, I'm doing a lot of movement on this guitar, but the biggest thing, we covered the progression for you bass players out there. You know, in the last week's video, we pretty much covered the progression, and I cover this more in my latest course, Congregational Songs, that's available on my website, JermaineMorgan.net, but I get more into the guitar and how to approach it, that kind of thing. But what I wanted to say, as a guitar player, it's very important to know where the song is going. Many of you don't know this, but I played guitar before I played bass. And a lot of my approach on guitar was just playing a lot of rhythm stuff or just filling in a lot of times. I didn't always know where the progression was going, or if you get stuck in environments where you're just asked to play, you know, people ask you, hey man, give us a little bit of the guitar, and you don't know what the song is. They just want you to solo whenever they call on you. And so we fall into that trap of not really learning the structure and the format of the song, where the numbers are going. So I found it as I became more experienced as a bass player, it helped my guitar playing. And what I did is I started to pay attention to more of where the song is going, and that opened up a big window of options for me as far as things that I can do, add into the chord progression and that kind of thing, because once I know where it's moving, I know where I can go, so to speak. So the progression of this song, again, is we start on the 1, and I'm playing a really dominant sounding 1, and we're in the key of C. So we're going from the 1 to the 2, and we stand on that 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 4. Stay there. Half step up. Back to the 5, but you can play that 1 over 5. But you can play that over 5. Into the 6. 2, 5. Back to 1. Okay, again, that's 1, 2, 1, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 4, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. Then turn around. So that's basically what I'm doing, is I'm using, and if anybody's familiar with church music at all, you know these changes are all the same ones that happen in church music. You can kind of review the last video to kind of really get more into this progression. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I really want to give you guys something that's really helpful, especially you guitar players out there. But what I'm doing, and I'm playing a lot of jazz voicings for these chords just because I like the sound of how they sound, especially when you're playing by yourself. Now, if I was playing and there was a keyboard player playing, I would probably be doing less. Me personally, I wouldn't be doing as much chording. I would probably be laying back and doing more plucking. I would be doing more of that approach if I had a keyboard player, but because I don't have a keyboard player in this particular example, and it's just a 3-piece band, now my bass player, he has several different approaches that he's going to take for the song. So I'm going to make sure on my end that I'm filling this thing up. Hear me doing a lot of sliding. And that's the way I would approach a little slide like that. So you can see the way I'm striking. This chord again. That's like a C dominant. And then I'm going to 5-1. That's one way of playing it. Like a 13. You can resolve it. Don't have to resolve it, just the way I like to do it sometimes. Going to that 4, the F dominant. I'm calling these chord names wrong. So again, we go into that F chord. It's a real dominant sounding chord. And then I just lift up my middle finger to go to that diminished. Or you can play the triad. But I like to bar it. And just go into that major, C major triad. And again, a lot of these chords I get into on the congregational course, and I break them down even slower where you can kind of get the real full understanding of how I'm using them, where I'm using them. But the biggest thing I want to show you guys is the striking and the patterns that I'm using. So I'm going to play a couple of different examples. We're going to play to this track and play a couple of different examples to kind of show you how you can actually approach it. There is I'm just really kind of focusing more on the chord aspect of it. I'm doing a little bit of plucking in between, but it's not a lot. And for me, I do more studio playing than live playing. And when I'm approaching something in the studio, I always have the option of going back and kind of overdubbing and adding my plucking stuff or adding my ad-lib stuff, you know. So like for instance, if I were to play this track, and I got a guitar player already playing this song, the way I played it, I would be playing it by myself, just playing a basic approach where I'm just taking the chords and just trying to lay the chord and lay the foundation down. But if I had another guitar player in there, it would give me more room to kind of spread out and add more licks and that kind of thing. So if I had a guitar player that's doing what I just did, let's see here. This would be more so how I'd approach it. So with that, I'm kind of listening to what this other player is doing and trying to find my way around and navigate. I don't know exactly where he's going, and a lot of times in a situation where you're playing with another guitar player, you don't know exactly what they're gonna do. So if you're the one that's playing the ad-lib stuff or the the rhythm type stuff, you kind of gotta stay back a little bit and listen at the same time being aggressive. And that's the balance if you have a band where it's two guitar, and I do know of a lot of church situations, especially in some older Baptist churches and apostolic churches. I know do it, or holiness churches. I'm not that familiar with Kojic churches, but I don't know how the guitar plays a role. I know those most of the time are more organ driven. But just in my experiences, I came up in a Baptist church and it was like two guitar players, bass, maybe keyboard sometimes, but most of the time it was just keyboard. It was most of the time just guitar, bass, and drums. And in that kind of environment, you have to just find where to fit in and try not to play over the next person. Especially me being the younger cat, the younger underdog, the older guitar player would be kind of leading everything, and you just find your spot and fall in it. In those kind of situations, the most important thing you want to do is trying to listen and not be too much in the way. Just kind of let the person who's leading and carrying the song on guitar, let them have the reins, so to speak, and you be the extra support system for everything else that's missing. Now, on the other end of that, if I'm playing this song and I'm by myself and I want to fill it up a little more, now I got to think about adding chords and adding the plucking into it. That's something I at least want to be thinking about, because I got to find a way. How do I play this? Add my chords, add my plucking, and then add my ad-libbing without the song feeling naked in parts. I got to figure out how to fill the song up, and a good way you can do that is it's based on a lot of what's going on with the rhythmic stuff, with what your drummer is doing, what your bass player is doing. Everybody's part matters when it comes to you having a very condensed band. Everybody parts matter. So if your bass player is doing a good bit of moving, so let's listen to this, just listening to it to see what the bass player is doing, and that'll tell me what kind of approach I kind of need to have on guitar. And so, if you guys remember the lesson from last week, this bass player is with me. I'm taking more of an approach of like a lot of the ghost note stuff. I'm playing pretty full to make sure I'm filling the song up. I'm not playing any licks or any chops or anything like that, but I'm trying to make sure I'm playing in a way with the ghost notes and everything that fills the song up. It adds a lot to the song, so I'm kind of creating a foundation for the guitar player to move around a lot more, have room to navigate, put a couple of licks here and there without sacrificing the entire song, so to speak. And it's a balance in making sure you're doing that, not soloing over the whole song. So I'm trying to play an example of what I'm talking about. So as you can hear, I'm doing a lot more moving, but the biggest thing I'm doing at the same time with the moving, I'm listening, because what you don't hear in this track that's going on is going to be very rare that I'm actually sitting there playing that song in a church type setting and there's not a vocalist singing. So I got to make sure whatever I'm playing is complementing the vocal. So I'm choosing the things that I'm playing based on what the vocalist is singing. So this song like this would be like y'all don't laugh at my singing. So I gotta think about that. What you can hear is almost like a call and response type thing that's going on. I'll do it so I'm going home, live with you, yes I lay, burden down. So I got those spaces and those holes where the vocalists are like glory, glory, space, hallelujah, space, since I laid my space, you know what I'm saying? So you're finding those holes in the song, and you don't have to fill every one of them up, but you want to take more of the holes and fill in those spots rather than playing all of your licks over the top of what the vocal is saying. And I think a lot of times what happens, especially with the community of YouTube now, and we have so much information available to us, and musicians are a whole lot better than they used to be back in the day. We know all of this information, we know all of these licks. We don't exercise a lot of maturity in holding back sometimes when it comes to playing with the vocalist and that type of thing. And there's going to come moments where we get to solo, we get to play our licks and that kind of thing. But I think the art of playing simple sometimes is lost because we have so much information available, and we are so good as musicians, we forget that the song, especially a song that has a vocal, it's about the vocal and it's not about the musicians trying to shine over top of that. So I think that's a really good thing, and learning to do that if you're playing by yourself or if you're playing with a smaller unit, is in your attempts to fill up the sound, make sure you don't step over the vocal, or make sure you don't step over the person that's being featured. If you're the one that's there for support, just make sure you're there to support and you're not stepping over everybody else. So these are just a few tips that you can take and add to you playing, and be mindful of all these things when you are playing, because it's going to make a big, huge difference in you guys sounding like a unit, not just trying to stand out as an individual playing, but we're always looking, and I'm one that's really big on the band, the sound of the band, because that makes everybody sound good versus one individual standing out amongst everybody. So like I said, these are some things, if you're a guitar player, that you can add to your playing. And like I said, guys, I'm gonna be coming back with these lessons, adding different things, little nuggets here and there. We're gonna be coming from I heard your request, and we're gonna be going all the way around this band and seeing what we can do to add to your plan. So if you have any thoughts, you have any suggestions, please let me hear them in the comments below. And I want to add this thing. It's not even in my notes to do this, but I want to add this, and I think I speak for YouTube creators out there everywhere. If you do decide to add a comment, please, please, please give thought to what you're going to say before you put your comment up. And I see this a lot, and I do get a lot of comments. Most of them, I would say, are positive, but I do get comments from time to time from people who are just, in my opinion, just negative. And you have to really, really consider what you're saying to people, and the people who take the time out to create these lessons. And I can speak for myself. The reason that I get on YouTube and I create content, free content on YouTube, and try to help people with the little that I know I'm not this person or that person as it pertains to the information that I share. But I share this information because when I was growing up, I didn't have YouTube, and I didn't have anybody who was freely giving information to me. So that's why I take the time out to make this information available. And I'm pretty sure this is the same thing for a lot of the creators who put this information out on YouTube. So when you take time to say something negative to people and it's not constructive criticism, you're not helping the situation. You really want to be mindful of what you're saying, and if it's beneficial to the person that you're saying it to. If it's just something you're trying to add value to somebody by saying, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? That's one way of saying it. But when you just come across negative to people who are trying to put themselves out to help you, you're not helping them. So we want to add value to people in everything that we do. If somebody's giving something to us, give something back. Leave something positive in your comments. So it's just a thought that, for me, I think you should be mindful of the YouTube audience who's watching these videos, because we want to, as people, as human beings, we want to always encourage one another and not tear each other down. So these are my thoughts. I'll see y'all on the next video. Thank you for watching.